Okay, so what we have here is my 2014 Kawasaki Ninja 300. I purchased this in May 2015. It is now November, I believe the 15th of 2015. I've managed to accumulate 10,000 miles within that time period. I've become very well versed, I'd say, in the basic maintenance and mechanics of my motorcycle here. Now, I'm no auto mechanic. I've never worked on motorcycles before. This is kind of my first thing like this. First real anything that I've really had to stay on top of like this. So I really like riding. I love this bike. I definitely thought it was a good idea to learn how to do all of this stuff on my own. As much as I like to ride, it's probably a good idea I learn how to do some of this stuff. So I've messed around here and there. I've done the oil changes, cleaned the air filter. I haven't lubed the brake lines or the throttle cables, but I'm looking into maybe doing that shortly. But yeah, so here I am. I'm doing my valve adjustment on my Ninja 300. I have checked and checked and checked and checked the specs on this thing. So I'm about 100% sure that I've got it right, and that I'm pretty confident that I know what I'm doing here. So, oh man, I'm tired. It's nighttime, it's late. But I was bored and decided to make a video, so maybe this can help anybody out that has a Ninja 300 and maybe save themselves a few bucks on the check/adjustment. My bike was actually out of spec, so I think my exhaust valve on the first cylinder there, number one, is sitting at about 0.18 millimeters. So we're a little off there. I believe the minimum is 0.22 millimeters to be in spec. And like I said, I checked and checked. So I've looked into it, done a bunch of reading on how to do this, and I think I'm ready. So I've ordered the shims. I have the shims that I need. I've been in this thing 3 times now. I think once I just did it for fun, so I can share a little bit what I know with you about that. But yeah, primarily, if you want to know how to do the check/adjustment, you're going to want to start by taking off your fairings. I'm assuming that you already know how to get the fairings off the bike. There's tons of videos on YouTube how to get the fairings off of your motorcycle. General videos. Makes it a lot easier for you to get to the motor. So once you get your fairings off, you're going to want to take your seat off. That's 2 bolts, just both sides, 1 bolt on one side, 1 bolt on the other. I believe that's where it set in. I believe that's where it went in. Anyway, take the seat off. It's really simple. I disconnected the battery for safety reasons. I I do recommend that. The manual says to do it, so I've unhooked mine. I'm pretty sure it's got something to do with sitting right next to this fuel line I've got here. So, I mean, if you spark or do something here over on your battery terminals and blow yourself up, I don't know. I thought it was a good idea. So, I unhooked the battery. So you can see, it's to the side there. We've got the black to the side as well. Gas tank, real easy. When I very first did this, I was terrified of touching this bike and messing something up. There's not really too much to be that concerned about. I mean, it's not made of glass. The parts are tough. I used to be afraid to touch sensors and things of that nature, but I've grown just to move those fucking things out of the way. So just get them out of the way. Top of your battery, there's a battery tray. You're gonna have to unscrew that right here. That's where it screws down. Pull that out. This box snaps off the top of that. It's real easy. It's real simple. Let's get that shit out of the way. Unhook the battery. And then the gas tank. So yeah, gas tank was just these two bolts here. I've got them on the table over there. I actually don't have those where they belong in the gas tank just because I'm starting to learn how, like, where shit goes on this. So anyway, man, don't be afraid to mess anything up. The front of the gas tank sits down on these two bumpers right here. There's nothing really fastening the tank down other than when your fairings are back on. They'll overlap there, and that screw there will kind of hold the tank in place. But you got your fuel line right here. So what I did was I just took a few boards and I stacked them. I actually have them over here if you want to see. Same thing I have my tank sitting on now. Just 3 boards. You do want to make sure that, oh boy, it's just a fuel pipe sticking out under here. I don't know how well you can see that, but I'll try and get it for you. See it there? It's just a little pipe. Fits over the end of your other fitment on the bike there. You want to make sure that you're not setting it down on that or touching it to the ground. I also have a rag under there to catch any fuel that may decide to drip onto the ground. So yeah, anyway, so I had those 3 boards there, and I set them here on top of this. As soon as I got those bolts out, I just, don't be afraid, lift it up, slide. That's probably 3.5, 4 inches of board under there. You don't got to be afraid. But there is a cable that hooks to your gas tank. And I believe that's a fuel pump relay or whatever. But it's right here. There's a clip in there. You just kind of move that clip out of the way. Anyway, I can't get a very good shot on that, but there's a clip. You might struggle with it. You see it when I first tried getting it, I goofed it a little bit trying to figure it out, but you definitely, I believe, you pull. You'll see it. There's a tab. You'll figure it out. Push or pull that thing. That slides out. Okay. Now your fuel line here, that slides over that metal pipe underneath the gas tank. Now it just slides on and off very easily. Comes on and off really easily. And then after you slide it on completely and put it in place, there is a red piece that fits over and kind of secures the two pieces together. Nothing to be dude, I wouldn't worry about breaking this thing at all. Like, it's pretty flexible. It's not like gonna break or anything. My best success with it was to take a small, appropriate size screwdriver, and there is a notch in there, and you just stick that thing in there and bend it, and like it comes off. And just don't be afraid. It's not gonna break. It's not gonna break. So don't worry about that unless you're like fucking caveman, I don't know what, sausage fingers, freaking, I don't think you're gonna break it. So just be easy. Put a rag under there. Fuel will fall out, so just have a rag ready. But yeah, so disconnect this electrical connection, your fuel line, the two bolts right here, and then just up and back and pull them off of these bumpers, and there you are. You have your tank. It's pretty dark in here, but you get the picture. You have your tank off. Oh, I forgot one thing. Really easy. Right here on your gas tank, that white bottle, I believe it's like the gas overflow or something, that is also connected right here, and I've removed that. So that's what this hose is right here we're looking at. That just comes right off. Pop it right off. What else can I talk about? So far, this has been pretty easy. I've drained the radiator fluid. That's actually on the other side of the bike, located at the bottom. If you don't know where it's at, read the service manual. That's another big one. Like, if you can go online, you can just download the service manual for this bike free in Adobe, and I have the entire service manual for this thing. So that was pretty cool. Not too big of an issue. You can see I've got some of the other things prepared for this valve check adjustment. To get this valve cover off, you are going to need to do a couple things. This radiator, this is like the thermostat housing, I believe, something. This is like thermostat, like sensor, like temperature sensor. This is what opens and shuts and controls the flow of your radiator fluid. But yeah, so I think that's an 8mm bolt. Just back those out of there. I actually just kind of pulled it out and then set it on top to get it out of the way some more. So I'll move it to show you what I mean. So I just kind of have it like hanging on the ledge there. So the bolts are back in, secured, hanging out of the way. I've secured this with a zip tie. Anything I need with the zip tie. Real easy. Just kind of zip tie it out of the way. Makes the job a whole lot easier. Yeah, I also removed, I actually did this before I moved this. I'm out of order, I'm sorry. This radiator hose on the ground here. That's just the direction that it came off. So I'm going to pick that up. It's going to go install right back in there. Got that out of the way. Real simple. You can get at those once you get the seat off. You can get a good angle on that clamp there through this way. Anyways, real easy. Get that out of there. What the heck are they? Stick coils. As you can see, I've got those out already. On the other side there, I think I did an okay job. I could have did a little better job cleaning around there. You want to make sure this area is really clean before you start pulling stuff out, because once you take the spark plugs out of here, there will be direct holes into the motor. So, gotta be careful. Clean off the area as good as you can. The vacuum hose on the top here that plugs into the top of the motor, just rock that back and forth. Move that ring clip back, rock that back and forth. Real easy. Don't be scared. Just kind of get bossy with it. Like, push that shit off of there. This other thing sitting right here, that was actually plugged into the stick coil. So those are over here. So what do I got? Here's my stick coils. I have those out in the direction that they came out of the bike. You were to note that. The manual says to note the direction that those were moved from the bike. So I've got them there that way. So you've got the vacuum, you've got the coils out. Now the coil, ever since I took them out the first time, hasn't been a problem. But the first time they were in there pretty good. And I found a tip online that stated to use just regular, where the hell did I put it? There it is. Just regular old, I have a fish tank. And so I happen to have some air tubing for the bubblers. And that's what I used. So I tied that around my stick coils. And I ran those directly above the stick coil, so up and out. And I used those to help leverage those stick coils out of there. So that was pretty neat. That worked out really good for me. I bet it could work out really good for you. But, okay, so other than that, like I said, this clip right here, that sticks in the side of the stick coil. There's one on the other side as well. There it is. I have it out of the way up in here. I'm beginning to get familiar where shit goes. So, but you want to be really careful. Like, these look the same though, so that's pretty simple. Those are like the easiest clips, so it's not really a problem. I can get those things on and off like in a cinch. But anyways, okay. So next, I haven't disconnected it yet, but there's a ground right here. I'm not sure. I did it without disconnecting that one time. I think it's okay, but if you want to get that out of the way, the more shit you can get out of the way, the better. If you don't want to worry about that, right here, I've already taken it off. But that's how your air switching valve, this whole thing with the tube and the thing right here, air switch housing, I think, and you want to slide that off of this bracket right here. So it's real easy. If I can get an angle on it. There's the top of it. See that slit in the middle? It just slides on and off of this thing. Real easy. So it slides on and off of this bracket here. And it drops down. So you can get that out of the way. This blue plug came out pretty easily. I don't think I even disconnected that the first time I left it, but now I'm getting more familiar where I'm trying to get this air switch or whatever out of the way. So I will enable more room to get this valve cover off, because my first time getting this thing off was a bitch. And I've got a couple tips I can share with you. I believe I'm getting better at it. But basically, I'm going to zip tie all this stuff out of the way. I'm going to pull this as far away and up out of the way as possible and zip tie it. What else? I think I turn this out of the way. So once you get the valve cover cracked, so you got to unloosen these bolts here. I think they're 12s or 10s. I can't remember. I'll tell you later. Once you get those cracked, you can lift this and turn this tube, because this is locked in by this cover here. If you can see, there's a tab on this tube that is covered by this valve head cover here. So, crack this, turn that tube out of the way. I believe that gives you a little more clearance to get this valve cover out of here. But yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to zip tie all this shit up out of the way and get as much room to get this out of here as possible. I didn't mess with the radiator other than removing that hose. I did drain it. I did not loosen any of these bolts. So I've been able to get this out of here without doing any of that. I've read a little bit about that. It might be easier, but that's just a lot of work. And if you can get away with doing it this way, I think that's probably best. So yeah, I'm going to do the zip ties, and then I will proceed with the rest of the video.